In a few days, or if you're in the future, this movie's already out in theaters, but let's just pretend we're back in the past. In a few days, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 hits theaters. Or, like I said earlier, you're already watching it in theaters. But this is before the movie came out, so okay. And if you're wondering whether you need to watch the first movie before you see it, let me save you some time. The first Five Nights at Freddy's movie made $297 million worldwide. It became Blumhouse highest grossing film ever, and critics absolutely hated it. But here's the thing, audiences gave it an 88%. That's not just a gap, that's a full-on war between critics and fans. So, what's the truth? Is the first FNAF movie actually good, or did fans just show up out of loyalty to the games? Honestly, both sides are kind of right. Let me set the stage for those who don't know the Five Nights at Freddy's story. Five Nights at Freddy's started as an indie horror game in 2014. The premise was simple. You're a night security guard at a Chuck E. Cheese-style pizza restaurant, and the animatronic mascots, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, are possessed by dead children and trying to kill you. It became a phenomenon. Millions of people played it. YouTubers made it blow up, and for almost a decade, fans begged for a movie adaptation. The film finally came out in October 2023, directed by Emma Tammy and starring Josh Hutcherson and Mike Schmidt, a troubled security guard who takes a job at the abandoned Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. Matthew Lillard plays William Afton, the franchise's main villain and serial killer. It had everything going for it. A built-in franchise, a modest $20 million budget, and a simultaneous release in theaters and on Peacock. And despite terrible reviews, it crushed the box office. Let's talk numbers, because they're insane. Five Nights at Freddy's opened to $80 million domestically, the biggest horror opening of 2023, the best Halloween weekend debut ever, and Blumhouse again, biggest opening in history. It beat out Halloween, which made $76 million. It destroyed The Exorcist Believer, which only made $60 million total. And remember, this movie was also streaming on Peacock the same day. Usually, day and date releases kill box office numbers, but FNAF fans showed up to theaters anyway because they wanted the communal experience. By the end of its run, the movie made $137 million domestic and $297 million worldwide on a $20 million budget. That's a 15x return on investment. Blumhouse and Universal were printing money. But here's the crazy part. The second weekend drop was 76%, one of the steepest drops in box office history. It was massively front-loaded. Fans rushed to see it opening weekend, and then word spread that it wasn't great, and casual audiences stayed home. So yeah, it made a ton of money, but was it actually good? Critics eviscerated this movie. 32% on Rotten Tomatoes. That's lower than most horror schlock. And the reviews weren't just negative, they were harsh. Rotten Tomatoes' consensus said the movie was muddled and decidedly unscary. Critics complained that it focused too much on Mike's family drama and not enough on horror. They said it was boring, slow-paced, and failed to capture what made the games terrifying. One review called it cold instead of hot. Another said the premise would have worked better as a straight-up R-rated splatterfest instead of the PG-13 version we got. And look, they're not wrong. The movie is PG-13, which means no gore, minimal scares, and a lot of restraint. For a franchise built on jump scares and dread about children being murdered, that's a weird choice, but here's where it gets interesting. Audiences loved it. 88% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. An A on CinemaScore from opening night crowds. Fans were thrilled. Why? Because the movie nailed the lore. If you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan, this movie is packed with Easter eggs, references, and callbacks to the games. The animatronics look incredible. Jim Henson's creature shop built them practically, no CGI. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy are creepy, detailed, and faithful to source material. Matthew Lillard's performance as William Afton is unhinged and perfect. He chews scenery in the best way. And his Springtrap reveal at the end had fans losing their minds. The movie also respects the game's backstory. The missing children, the haunted animatronics, the dark history of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. For fans who've been following this story since 2014, seeing it brought to life was everything. But here's the problem. If you're not a FNAF fan, none of that matters. The movie tries to be two things at once, and it fails at both. On one hand, it wants to be a horror movie. Killer animatronics, creepy atmosphere, jump scares, but it's PG-13, so the scares are toothless. There's no real tension. No one important dies in horrifying ways, the horror is sanitized. On the other hand, it wants to be a character drama about Mike dealing with trauma, protecting his sister Abby, and uncovering the mystery of his brother's disappearance. And honestly, those scenes are boring. The pacing is glacial. The movie spends way too much time on Mike's family issues and not enough time on the actual horror. When the animatronics do show up, they're barely threatening. There's one scene where they're literally building a fort with Abby and dancing. It's cute, but it's not scary. And the plot is convoluted. If you haven't played the games, good luck following what's happening. Why are the animatronics possessed? Who's William Afton? What's the deal with the missing children? The movie assumes you already know this stuff, and if you don't, you're lost. Critics saw a boring, slow-paced horror movie with weak scares. Fans saw a faithful adaptation packed with lore. Both are correct. But let's be fair. The movie isn't a total disaster. The animatronics are genuinely impressive. Jim Henson's Creature Shop did incredible work. Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy look terrifying when they need to, and oddly charming when they don't. The practical effects give them weight and presence that CGI just couldn't match. Josh Hutcherson does his best with a weak script. He's likable as Mike, even if the character isn't well written. And Matthew Lillard is having the time of his life as William Afton. His performance is campy, evil, and fun to watch. The third act picks up significantly. Once the mystery unravels and the animatronics go full killer mode, the movie finally delivers some tension. The Springtrap reveal is genuinely cool, and fans went wild for it. And the end credits song, Five Nights at Freddy's by the Living Tombstone, was a perfect nostalgia hit for fans who've been part of the community since the beginning. So yeah, there's good stuff there, but it's buried under pacing issues and tonal confusion. One of the wildest things about this movie is that it released simultaneously in theaters and on Peacock, as mentioned before. Most industry analysts thought the streaming release would kill the box office. Why pay $15 for a ticket when you can watch it at home for free? Well, with a Peacock subscription. But fans didn't care. They wanted the theater experience. They wanted to see it with other FNAF fans, react to the Easter eggs together, and be part of the event. And honestly, that's the movie's real success. It wasn't just a film. It was a communal experience for a fan base that had been waiting 9 years for this. Peacock also set records for the most streamed day one release in its history, so people watched it both ways. The dual release didn't hurt the movie, it expanded its reach. Alright, let's answer the question. Should you watch the first Five Nights at Freddy's movie before seeing the sequel? If you're a FNAF fan, yes, absolutely. You've probably already seen it, but if not, watch it. The sequel will build on the lore, and you'll appreciate the callbacks. If you're not a FNAF fan, honestly, maybe not. The sequel is reportedly addressing fan complaints from the first movie, more scares, more action, a tighter story. Director Emma Tammy said they listened to feedback and amped up the horror for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. If the sequel is better, you might be able to jump in without watching the first one. The basic premise is simple. Animatronics are possessed and trying to kill people. You don't need a PhD in FNAF lore to follow that. But if you want context, who Mike is, what happened at Freddy's, why William Afton matters, then yeah, watch the first movie. It's on Peacock right now. Just go in with realistic expectations. It's not a masterpiece. It's a flawed but faithful adaptation that fans love and critics hate. So, what do we know about Five Nights at Freddy's 2? It releases December 5th, and from now on, and unlike the first movie, it's theatrical only. No Peacock day and date release. Blumhouse learned their lesson and wants to maximize box office, and they probably will. The sequel picks up 1 year after the first film. Mike and Vanessa have kept the truth about Freddy's from Mike's sister Abby. But when Abby sneaks out to reconnect with the animatronics, all hell breaks loose. The trailer teases new animatronics, Toy Freddy, Toy Bonnie, the Puppet, and Balloon Boy. It also shows the animatronics aren't just at Freddy's anymore, they're everywhere, according to Vanessa. Josh Hutcherson, Elizabeth Lale, and Matthew Lillard are all back. Lillard's William Afton returns as Springtrap, the decayed animatronic suit he was trapped in at the end of the first movie. He's been teasing fans on social media with the line, "I always come back," which is his iconic catchphrase from the games. And here's the big one. Director Emma Tammy said they listened to fan feedback. More horror, more scares, less family drama. The script only took 4 drafts this time compared to the first movie's 14, which suggests they had a clearer vision. Early test screenings have been positive, with audiences reportedly responding enthusiastically. So is FNAF 2 going to be better than the first? Probably. The bar isn't that high. Look, FNAF 1 isn't a great movie. The pacing is slow, the horror is weak, the plot is convoluted. Critics were right to criticize it. But it's also a love letter to fans. The animatronics are incredible, the lore is faithful, the Easter eggs are everywhere, and for people who've been part of the FNAF community for a decade, seeing this world brought to life was a dream come true. The movie made $297 million because fans showed up, not because it was a masterpiece, but because it was theirs. And honestly, that's fine. Not every movie needs to be a critical darling. Sometimes a movie can just be for the fans, and that's enough. Is it worth watching before FNAF 2? If you're a fan again, yes. If you're not, maybe skip it and just see the sequel. FNAF 2 is aiming to be better, scarier, and more accessible to casual audiences. But if you do watch the first one, go in knowing what it is. It's not for everyone, but it is for the people it's for, and for them, it's everything. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 drops in theaters pretty soon, or if you're watching it after it came out, it's already out, and I'm cautiously optimistic. First movie had issues, but it proved there's a massive audience for this franchise. If Blumhouse can tighten the pacing, amp up the horror, and deliver on the scares, this could be the movie fans have been waiting for. So, whether you watch the first one or not, I'd say give FNAF 2 a shot. It's an exclusive theatrical release, so you'll have to see it in theaters if you want the full experience. And hey, if nothing else, those animatronics are still going to look incredible. Thanks for watching.